Well, greetings, everybody, and welcome once again to Tri-State Triumphs for Tuesday, July the 21st. It's not very often we are joined by a national champion and a 12-time All-American, but the pride of Illini West High School, Blaze Murphin, is exactly that, one of the finest shot putters ever and throwers ever to come through Division III athletics with, as I mentioned, a dozen All-American honors in that national championship in the shot put back in 2008. And first of all, Blaze, before I get into that, I don't want to stereotype, but I think thrower in college, national champion, big, gigantic guy. Never in my wildest dreams do I envision that guy in the cockpit of a plane flying for a living. But that's exactly what you're doing now. Congratulations on becoming a pilot. Explain, first of all, a little bit about how that passion happened for you, kind of how you found your way into this career.
Yeah, it started when I was really young. You know, every little kid loves airplanes, and I just kind of never grew out of it. So, when I was in high school, I was looking for colleges that had an aviation program, and there's not a lot of schools that have that. But the University of Dubuque had a fitting program and a great track program. And so I started training at the University of Dubuque. They have a flight program. I was flying 3 to 4 days a week, and I just fell in love with it. I got hooked on it. I stayed in summertime. And so I graduated the program in 2.5 years. And then I started flight instructing. They hired me part-time while I was still able to train and compete for the university. And one thing led to another, and here I am at the airlines. So
I can say this to you as a father of a former aviation student. I know that's not cheap. And obviously, because you're paying jet fuel and you're paying for all these different things, this is something you have to be totally committed to as a student. What do you love about being in the air behind the stick cockpit?
Yeah, I made a 50-year commitment with the amount of student debt I have, but there's nothing quite like, my favorite thing is, when you take the runway, especially in a jet, when you take a runway and you're staring down the runway and you have just an absurd amount of horsepower behind you, and you stick the throttles forward and you feel that pull you back in the seat. There's just nothing like it. There's nothing like blasting out of the sky in a tin can going 500 miles per hour. It's really just the best feeling in the world. I giggle every time I do it. So, I still have a very long career ahead of me. I hope that stays with me, but that's the best part, just the feeling that you can't really do anything else, on the ground. You can cut your way through clouds. You can really there's an unlimited amount of freedom, it feels like, when you're flying the jet.
I had a wonderful sit-down this week with Jim Johnson, Quincy High, a two-time state champion thrower who's at the University of Iowa, and we were talking about the unique culture of throwing and how a lot of you guys are free spirits and different kind of guys, because you're always on your own area and you all have your own different personalities, and you've always been a guy that's larger than life, personality-wise, dating all the way back high school. I mean, pilot seems to fit that personality a little bit for you, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's different because, in high school or college, we were all caffeine junkies, and we were just slapping each other in the face to, try and get big lifts up in the air. And it's I have to dial that back a little bit. But yeah, I think as far as a big personality to command an aircraft, there's some things that I have to hide, like the hypeness and stuff. But I think they go hand in hand. Definitely the leadership that I developed in sports really helped me with that. But I think you do need to have a big personality to do what I do. And yeah, I think it carries over.
One of the things I love about the architecture of what you did is when you got to Dubuque, you really maximized was a really good high school career and took it to that extreme next level, which is not easy to do. I mean, when you're the best in the country at what you do, that is such, a half percentile of the throwers out there. People don't understand the amount of work and technique that went into that, because you aren't the big guy in the world, obviously. And so much of what you did was torque and, knowing your body and working to find that technique. Just looking back now at that 2018 state championship, how special was that?
In 2018 was a fun year. It was also frustrating. In the indoor season, that was kind of the pivotal moment for me. So 2 weeks before the indoor national championship, I had injured my left hand, my throwing hand. And so the 2 weeks going into the indoor national championship, I had not thrown a shot put. We were doing dry throws because I was just trying to keep the hand healthy. We got to the national meet. We had a game plan with what we were going to do to try and keep it healthy. And basically after the first throw, that all went out the window. I had this real fancy tape job on my hand to help save it, and that wasn't working. So I ripped it all off, and I threw 58 feet to get third place at the national championships after not throwing a shot for 2 weeks. And that was a moment that I kind of knew, like, hey, we can really do something special here. So then to the 2018 Outdoor National Championships where I won, I went in being the underdog. A good friend of mine, David Cornack, he was the top guy. He had thrown 60 feet that season. And I basically went in with the idea that I had nothing to lose. I had felt really comfortable in my technique. I felt like I was able to find the next skier, really similar to how I did with the state title in 2015. And yeah, I didn't hold back. I had a great opener. I started off the competition really well, and then after that, I just kind of went a little. I brought the in the next gear. I went a little crazy. The caffeine kind of kicked in. So yeah, I went after it. He had a huge throw in the third round or second round, I think, and my coach said, nothing to lose. So in the fifth round on the slow clap, I threw a 4-foot PR to win it. Yeah.
Wow, that's unreal. And I know this is not one of those things that you think about, but as you start getting a little older, this is going to be one of those things that the Duke holds up as, you're you're definitely going to be a Hall of Famer for that athletic institution when it rolls around. You had only the second national championship in the history of the program. I mean, these are all incredibly special, indelible things you're going to get to tell your grandchildren that not a lot of us get to share with ours. What does that mean kind of now, Blaze? And do you think at all of the architecture of just how unique your place is within the history of your institution?
Yeah. It still kind of has this in it. I think about throwing all the time. I wish I could have continued to compete. But I think it's really unique. I think it's something that not a lot of people can share. I definitely don't want my athletic career to be the pinnacle of my life, but it is something that I'm really going to never forget. I think about it all the time. It's just something I'm really glad that, after you put in all the work, all the hours, you put in all the time, and you get an outcome like that, that's unique. That's not something that happens often in life, And so I'll have that experience. I can share that with my kids and grandkids and tell them, like, hey, when you bust your butt, the outcome's pretty freaking cool, So that's the biggest thing, like when you put your mind to something and you really work hard at it, and you want to be the best, the outcome's definitely worth it, I would say, in the end.
The thing I'm proudest about you is not just what you did, but what you opened up. Because after Blaze Murphy, Jordan Johnson will land in Iowa, Elijah Barnes lands in Iowa, Chandler Hayden throwing in the SEC for Tennessee. How proud are you of this era and kind of the cradle of throws that you kind of were at the forefront of back in 2015, throwing at Illini West?
Yeah, I've been following the tri-state area pretty closely after I graduated. The amount of talent that is in that area is insane. I don't know if those guys ever knew about me. I don't know.
Man, Jordan mentioned you by name yesterday.
Okay. So, I think to inspire a whole group of a different athletic base like that is awesome. Those guys are incredible. I had no idea that was going to happen when I was going through in high school. I just wanted to be the best that I could be. I wanted to put in the time and the work, and I'm really glad that those guys maybe saw that and they knew what they could achieve. They're way more athletic than I'll ever be. I think, 100 or 205 feet in the discus and 218, that guy in Missouri. That's incredible. Those guys are going to have awesome careers, and I'm so excited for them.
From your standpoint, you are where you come from in so much of this. You have carved out this burgeoning career in a field that's really hard to break into, that I think a lot of people are envious of, because you mentioned, who doesn't want to fly a plane?
Right. Yeah.
But what did you take away from Carthage and from the Illini West experience that has helped make you be able to swim upstream and win in a career field that's not easy, as I said, to break into?
Yeah. I love Carthage. I'm so glad that I live in Minneapolis right now. It's a big city. I'm so glad that my adult life started in a small town like Carthage, Illinois, in the tri-state area. You learn so much about community and what people can do when they come together. Carthage is a fantastic part of the Midwest. The farming area, and the people are hardworking, and small town football, for example, right? Everyone comes together to watch football games. In 2010 when they won the state championship, it seemed like the Carthage was a ghost town because they all went to watch. You have people behind you, and I'm just so glad that I grew up in a community where everyone's so supportive. That's something you don't really get when you start going to the bigger cities, I feel like. So yeah, that's what I feel about that.
Anybody, Blaze, you particularly need to shout out and kind of helping your success, because everyone has mentors or that special teacher or that somebody in the community along the way that kind of kept on path or said that one thing that might have, when you had that moment of doubt about, man, maybe I can't win a state championship. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out kind of in your success?
Don Winters was my specific throws coach. I absolutely adore the guy, love him to death. And he was definitely a big part of where I am today. But specifically, I like John Artman, my head coach in high school. And we talk about this him and I we're still in contact, but we talk about this all the time. He was the biggest jerk to me when I was in high school. I hated him. I did not want to go to practice because I felt like his expectations were just too high. And then, every week I was getting so frustrated because he was like, you can do better. You can do better. I know you can do better. You're not trying hard enough. I'm like, what are you talking about? I am. And then we get to the state championship meet. I win the state title. He comes up to me, grabs me, and says, "You became a man today." And it just kind of all clicked. Like he saw something that I didn't see in myself. I think he's done that with numerous athletes. Sir Whitaker, Jacob Scholl, his son Connor, who's at Iowa or Illinois now. He's just someone who really raises the bar for everyone, I think, and that's really special to find in a coach, especially when you're a young man still developing. So.
That's one for you. And this is the most important reason why we're bringing people on during this pandemic, Blaze, because, we want to inject some positivity into things. And it's hard right now. And I know, especially, in the travel industry, know that better than anybody. But, what would you tell a younger you, or what would you tell somebody who comes to you and says, hey, I see you're a pilot. I always want to do this. I know it's really hard. What word of encouragement would you pass on, Blaze, to somebody who is kind of, looking at the architecture and seeing some of the darkness in our culture right now and giving them a ray of light to achieve what they want to achieve?
Yeah. And with flying and sports go hand in hand. And that's what I think I connected with the both of them really well. If you want something, find out how to do it, especially athletically. Listen to your coaches, buy in, work the hardest. Kobe Bryant, he would go in and shoot like 200 shots before, a game. Work the hardest. Talent, you can't develop talent. You can develop talent, but you can't change talent short term. You can change effort short term. And so put in the work, listen to your coaches, buy in. And that carried over in the classroom. I hated sitting in a classroom learning. I think most people might agree with me, but if you want to get to the end game, you have to put in the work. And so that's what I did. I sat in the classroom. I studied 5 hours every night to get to where I needed to be. And it sucked. I hated it, but it's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to stand up and you have to do the tough thing if you want to get to the end game. And that was the same thing with athletics. So just buy in and work your butt off, and you'll see some awesome results, I think. So.